Picture this. The 1960s, motorsport is king. Ferrari, the prancing horse, reigned supreme. They were unbeatable, a symphony of Italian passion and engineering. Enzo Ferrari, Il Commendatore, ruled the track with an iron fist. His cars, red rockets leaving everyone in their dust. Year after year, Ferrari tasted victory at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. It was their playground. Enter Ford, the American giant, all chrome and horsepower. Henry Ford II, Hank the Deuce, wanted a piece of the action. He saw motorsport as the perfect way to inject excitement into Ford's image. Problem was, their cars were built for comfort, not speed. They were out of their league against the sleek Ferraris. So, Ford did what any self-respecting American company would do. They tried to buy their way in. They approached Ferrari with a deal, an offer to buy them outright. The audacity. Enzo Ferrari, a man who lived and breathed racing, laughed them out of the room. He wouldn't sell his soul to some American industrialists. The insult cut deep. Ford was furious. This wasn't just about business anymore, this was personal. Ford wanted payback. More than that, they craved it. They wanted to humiliate Ferrari on their own turf, the 24 Hours of Le Mans. This wasn't just about building a fast car, it was about building a legend. They would create a car so dominant, so brutally fast, that it would crush Ferrari's spirit. Money was no object. Ford poured millions into the project, creating a skunkworks team with one goal: win Le Mans. They needed someone who could tame this beast, someone with the guts and the glory to take on Ferrari, someone who knew what it meant to race and win. They found their man in Carroll Shelby, a Texan racer with a heart condition and a knack for building winning cars. Shelby was a legend, a Le Mans winner himself, and he knew what it took to beat the Italians. But even Shelby knew this was a tall order. They needed someone behind the wheel who could push the car to its limits and beyond. Enter Ken Miles, a British driver with a devil-may-care attitude and a gift for squeezing every ounce of performance out of a machine. Miles was a brilliant but difficult character, a maverick who clashed with authority. He was the perfect weapon against the polished Ferrari team. Together, Shelby and Miles were an unlikely duo. Shelby, the smooth-talking Texan, and Miles, the blunt Brit, constantly butted heads. But their shared passion for speed, their desire to create the ultimate racing machine, united them. They began work on the Ford GT40, a car that would become a legend. The GT40 was a beast, a low-slung rocket ship with a thunderous American V8 engine. It was raw power, barely tamed. The early prototypes were plagued with problems. They were fast, sure, but unstable at high speed. Crashes were common. The pressure was on. Ford was pouring money into the project, and the clock was ticking. Le Mans was fast approaching. Shelby and Miles worked tirelessly, testing, tweaking, pushing the car to its limits and beyond. They battled mechanical gremlins, aerodynamic instability, and the constant skepticism from Ford's management. They say you can't tame a wild horse, but Shelby and Miles were determined to try. They refined the GT40's aerodynamics, improved its suspension, and squeezed even more power out of its massive engine. Slowly but surely, the car began to come together. Their efforts paid off. The GT40 began to show its potential. It was winning races, setting lap records, and turning heads everywhere it went. The roar of its V8 engine became a challenge to Ferrari, a declaration of war. The stage was set for the ultimate showdown at Le Mans. The 24 Hours of Le Mans is not just a race, it's a brutal test of man and machine. It's a relentless battle against fatigue, mechanical failure, and the unforgiving laws of physics. In 1966, the atmosphere at Le Mans was electric. The Ford versus Ferrari rivalry had captured the world's imagination. The Ford team arrived at Le Mans with a fleet of GT40s, ready to take on the might of Ferrari. The tension was palpable. The roar of the engines, the smell of racing fuel, the sea of excited spectators, it was a sensory overload. The race began, and the GT40s shot off the line like bullets. They were fast, incredibly fast, but so were the Ferraris. The two teams traded the lead throughout the grueling race, pushing each other to the limit. The lead changed hands multiple times, each lap a nail-biting sprint. As the hours ticked by, attrition took its toll. Cars crashed, engines blew, drivers made mistakes, but through it all, the GT40s remained strong. Ken Miles, behind the wheel of the #1 car, was on fire. He drove like a man possessed, setting a blistering pace. In the end, Ford achieved their goal. They crossed the finish line in first, second, and third place, a humiliating defeat for Ferrari. The American flag flew high above Le Mans. Ford had conquered the race they were told they couldn't win, but their victory was bittersweet. Ken Miles, the man who had pushed the GT40 to its limits, died just weeks later in a testing accident. He never got to fully savor the sweetness of their triumph. Miles's death cast a shadow over Ford's victory. It was a stark reminder of the dangers of motorsport, the price of pushing man and machine to the edge. Miles was a hero, a true racer, and his loss was felt deeply by all who knew him. His legacy, however, lived on. He was instrumental in developing the GT40, in turning it from a temperamental beast into a world-beating racing car. He was a true pioneer, a driver who pushed the boundaries of speed and endurance. Ford continued to dominate Le Mans for the next few years, cementing their place in motorsport history. They had achieved what they set out to do. They had beaten Ferrari at their own game. Ford's victory at Le Mans marked a turning point in motorsport history. It signaled the arrival of the American muscle car on the world stage. The GT40 became an icon, a symbol of American engineering prowess. Ferrari, for their part, were stunned. They had underestimated Ford's determination, their willingness to push the boundaries of technology and innovation. But they wouldn't stay down for long. They poured their resources into developing new cars, determined to reclaim their crown. The rivalry between Ford and Ferrari continued throughout the 1960s, each manufacturer pushing the other to build faster, more innovative cars. It was a golden age for motorsport, a time of incredible technological advancement and fierce competition. The Ford versus Ferrari rivalry has become the stuff of legend. It was a clash of titans, a battle of pride and ambition. It was a time when racing wasn't just a sport, it was a matter of national pride. The story of their rivalry has been immortalized in books, documentaries, and even a Hollywood blockbuster. It's a story that continues to capture the imagination, a reminder of a time when racing was raw, dangerous, and utterly captivating. The echoes of that rivalry can still be felt today. Ford and Ferrari remain two of the most iconic names in motorsport, their cars synonymous with speed, power, and technological innovation. And every time their cars line up on a starting grid somewhere, the ghosts of Henry Ford II, Enzo Ferrari, Carroll Shelby, and Ken Miles are watching.